a celebration of life, a tribute to the life of Tim Shannon. Join us now as we relive the memories and accomplishments with his friends, family, and colleagues as we celebrate the Commissioner of Fun.
And we are certainly looking forward to a tribute to Tim Shannon and Commissioner of Fun, but as Jeff Trout just mentioned, he was more than that. He did an awful lot for an awful lot of people. I am certainly honored to be part of the panel to talk about Tim's credentials and things that he has done. From an athletic standpoint, I had the opportunity to coach him in 2 sports, but more important than that, I valued him as a friend for over 50 years, we're all honored to be here, and we certainly would be remiss if we didn't thank Jim Quinn for coming up with the idea and presenting this on QBC, so everyone has an opportunity to really see and kind of crystallize all the things that Tim meant to the city and to all the people that he's touched. We'd also be remiss if we didn't shout out very sincere condolences to the love of his life, Leslie, and his 2 daughters, Amy, Mackenzie, and granddaughters. Of all the things Tim did in athletics and coaching and city service and service to the community, number 1 was his family, and I think everybody would agree that they were very special, and so all of us join in prayers and condolences to the entire family. We will begin with we're going to go through Tim's life a little bit and chronologically, so we have to start with the beginning when he was growing up in Millville, a lifelong resident, and of course on the first panel we have Craig Atkinson, Joe Derella, and Jeff Trout, and all of them Tim touched in his early years growing up. And, of course, there's a lot of carryover as the panels will change here. Jeff and Joe having served with Tim on City Commission, and Craig having served with him on the Thunderbolt Club. But we want to talk about Tim growing up first, and I know, Joe, you have some stories from Little League and way back, so why don't you share a few of those with us?
Well, first, I think we'll all agree Tim really never grew up. He made sure that he embraced every single day and lived it to its fullest. So if there's one person that I respect that got the most out of life, and obviously he was taken way too early, he definitely did enjoy the ride. We got a chance to go up with Tim. Played Little League with him. I know we're going to have a picture sooner or later, I hope, when we won the City Series there, City Champs, and Tim was an integral part of that. He was an incredible baseball player.
Well, we beat you when I was 12, Joe.
Well, I was gone then.
I know. You're a little older than me.
So the fact that I was gone, yes, I was 12, Tim was 11, but we had a great time in it. Some of the things that we did down there in Little League to the umpires.
I was a bad boy. That's how old you guys are.
But there were so many times where we weren't happy with the umpire's call. And
Clarence?
Yeah, Mr. Mall, of course. And it just so happens that every time we dug in for the entire inning, every batter would kick dirt on the plate, so he'd have to clean it up. And he spent more time bending over, wiping the plate off. And that all started with Timmy. Just said, "This is what we're doing, guys. Let's get it done." And again, there's a lot of great memories, not just on that field, but Valley City Swim Club that we might talk about, City Park. I know you guys down there with him, raising all kind of cane.
Well, talking about Little League, it is a little known fact that I used to pitch in Little League for Mall Brothers.
Right.
Better team than the Elks. And I remember pitching.
It's not getting a fight.
So this was probably, 1968 or 67, I don't know. But I was pitching for Mall Brothers, and Tim came up to bat, and we were buddies at that. I mean, I've known Tim since we were in kindergarten together at Culver School, but I threw a pitch, and Tim hit it basically into the Kerglass parking lot over right
Pretty
center.
good shot.
Yeah, that was pretty far.
Where was the field at then? At the old.
That was the old.
I played farm league there. We moved
Right.
to the Bacon
School, yeah.
field. Yeah, that's right. I
So
remember playing farm league
there were stands in the right center field, outside the fence, but he hit it over the stands and like into the parking lot of the Kirklands. I think that was called Elizabeth Bacon Field or something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, next time up, I hit him in the head with a pitch. So,
A lifelong friend.
on purpose.
purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we got into a little skirmish, but it wasn't. We were only like
He knew it was coming.
11. He knew he
He knew it was coming.
He knew it was
he had to
coming.
take his punishment, So,
In the head.
oh yeah, we wore helmets back then, Coach.
Oh, gosh.
But I also remember like the City Park basketball days down at City Park when we, there was a lot of kids that played. It was like an organized type of league down in the summertime at City Park, and Tim was a great basketball player, really good shooter, and we used to have a lot of fun down at City Park, and all the kids and in the neighborhood. So that was a lot of fun. He was at City Park.
City Park, man, he picked me on his team, so he knew I'd throw me the ball so he could shoot.
Right.
That was the whole thing. Don't forget,
Yeah.
just go throw me the ball. Gotcha, man.
Phenomenal athlete. I used to roll around with these guys when I was younger, follow them around. I idolized these older guys.
As well you should have.
Yeah, not anymore. He hit me in the head with a couple wiffle balls. Too.
I was going to say, wiffle ball, man. Woo.
And I'd ride my bike down there and see Timmy play. And he was always so big and so athletic and towered over everybody. And I remember, just being in complete awe of him. He was a really good athlete, really. And then I remember watching him in high school, watching these guys in high school play basketball and football. And, again, amazed at his athleticism, being a real big kid like that. And I think that I think for a long time he had the record for interceptions, right?
He did.
And I
He
think
still
when I
might
was,
have it.
maybe in a season.
Oh,
But in
in
a
a
game, I think one of the players that we had,
Mike Harris.
yeah, maybe it was, but I know he still
He had
had a
the
lot.
one in
Yeah,
the
we were
season.
checking that out. But what a tremendous football player too! I can still see myself sitting in the stands and watching all those guys and watching Craig and I really admire. I really looked up to them, and they were role models to me. That's probably why I turned out not
Just the way you are, right? Yeah.
shaky at times, but and Timmy stood out, with his long flowing hair and his charisma and his athleticism and his competitiveness. I called my, it's a little getting a little ahead of the story here, but I called my daughter today, who he coached. And we'll talk about that later as a great coach, tremendous coach. And I said, what's your first thoughts, Teal, when you think about Timmy coaching you? And she said, just his will to win, his desire to win. He was so competitive, and that he cared. He was good to the girls, but that competitiveness was in all of us, growing up, and Timmy, like Craig said, took use of made the best of all the programs and all the things that the city of Millville, had to offer. And he was there, and he did it. And from the time he was a little guy till the time he just recently passed, he unapologetically loved Millville and took advantage of everything Millville had to offer and more.
To go with that competitive, just up at the City Park in basketball, I can remember him throwing ping pong paddles because he lost a ping pong game. I can remember him kickball, just dominating, but whatever. And you didn't want to get hit by him. If you were running from first to second and he had the ball, you were going to get nailed.
I think he had a better arm than Craig.
And it's a good possibility.
I think he did.
But they had this little game then. It's a pool, these little rings, this Karam pool, and he became a master of that. If he put his mind to it, he was going to get it done. So
He was one of those natural athletes. I think you give him anything, and he
Smooth,
could.
yep.
And then his competitiveness, he mastered it. If he wasn't real good in the beginning, he became really proficient at it.
Back when we used to hang out at the YMCA, we had a YMCA club, they brought a pinball machine in down in the basement, and Tim had to win when we all played pinball. He had to have the high score, and if he didn't have the high score, we were going to play again. So, but getting back to Culver School, the funny story about basketball in Culver School, back then we used to get downtown to either Newberry's or Woolworths and have a cheeseburger for lunch, when we were in grammar school. And then we'd go hang out at the Abbott's Bakery in the back and have donuts and stuff with the Abbott brothers. But then we'd go back behind the funeral home, and they had a basketball rack.
Yep.
And we'd shoot baskets, behind the funeral home. And, we had some pretty good games back there. But one of the neat things was sometimes we got to go back in the morgue, and Tim would take us back in the morgue and maybe see a body or two laying there, which was a lot of fun too. So,
Yeah, sounds like it.
That
it was.
explains a lot moving forward in life, Craig.
And Rob and Tim used to play tricks on us, and sometimes the bodies would sit up in the coffins and things like that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Davy Jones played, didn't he? When
Davy Jones and Danny Jones both
Danny
played.
Jones, yeah.
Right. Well, that was Tim's neighborhood. That was Danny and Dave Jones, Ernie and George Harris, Zimmerman brothers, John Beakley, Dave Kinese.
A lot of good athletes out of that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the 3rd Street neighborhood was some good athletes and a lot of fun to hang around down there.
And every once in a while, they'd venture down to Sassafras Street and all that. And then you'd have all kind of chaos going on. Some real good competitive games. But, yeah, always a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Tim was competitive, though. Ultra competitive. Reminds me of some people I know and I'm close to, but very competitive in whatever he was doing,
Any memories from Culver?
Well, Culver School was neat because British Bulldog. It's a game you used to play where you had to run from one line to the other line. The other team tried to stop you, and you're talking about you're on this tarred surface, and you come home with tar all over your clothes. And my mom and dad would say, "Where did you get the tar on your clothes?" Well, I got tackled playing British Bulldog. But one of the big memories of Culver School is Mrs. Gerlach was the principal, and she would be up on the 3rd floor with some kind of metal thing banging on the window to tell us to stop playing British Bulldog. But Tim and I were usually the captains of opposing teams. One good memory, though, about Culver School is I think it was 5th or 6th grade. We weren't in the same class, but we were on recess and we were playing kickball, but our fields overlapped. And somebody hit basically a ground kick to me, and I was trying to throw out the person from between 1st and 2nd, and Tim was playing the outfield on the other field, facing the other way, and I hit him right in the back of the head with the ball, and it totally knocked him butt over head, and he thought I did it on purpose, but
you hit him in the
Probably. You've got a track record.
You hit him in the little right.
That was an accident.
You got it passed, He's already.
I remember
A lot of people with balls.
you were
growing
down,
up.
down at the board office a few months ago and talking about being at Culver School. Some of the younger people don't realize that the new Board of Education was,
it was great.
I
loved that place.
Was a great school at one time. A great elementary
and you
school.
did things on the playground during recess and lunch that you wouldn't be able to get away with today. Those types of games, they were rough and tumble, but yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Somebody cried every day out there, so
They had to.
Yeah,
It was a rule.
It was a rule.
that was a rule.
Well, Tim certainly started out his life in Millville in a very prominent way, having an older brother Rob, and was a great athlete. And then Tim, came up through the ranks and played ball with all you guys.
Great family too.
Oh, outstanding!
Tremendous family.
Yeah, just tremendous icons in the in the city.
Yep.
For sure. Any other thoughts on the early years before we transition into high school?
Well, I just wanted to talk about Tim. Just loved, and Joe's coach was Walt Lestitian, baseball coach in the Little League.
Coaches in CWL basketball, too.
Tim told me one time, Joe and Tim were going on a road trip with Mr. Lestitian one time, and he had the habit of talking to you in the back seat while he was driving like this and said, you got to do this, you got to get the ground ball. And they said they'd be in the back seat going, "Hey, Coach, turn around, please, watch the road." And then he ends up being my coach in Babe Ruth and still did the same thing. And we'd say, hey, Coach, hey, Walt, turn around, watch the road, watch the road.
He was
Another Millville legend. There
He
you
was
go,
a
Joe.
great, yeah, there we are. He was a great coach. Walt was a great coach, and he coaches both at CYO basketball. Timmy came over and played there, and something about him. Timmy and I are looking at each other. He doesn't know. He's got a book, and Coach Lestitian learned to coach basketball, and we ended up winning CYO championship.
How about that?
He was just one of those kind of guys that could, just coach and convey it to
Put that,
the kids.
put that shot back up, George, would you?
Growing up?
I don't know. He just
remember,
started
Greg?
coaching. Oh, there it is.
What's that?
Yeah, so Joe, what year is this?
This is the
What team is this?
That is it's BPO Elks.
So that's
Little
Walt
League.
Lestitian on the far
Walt
right.
Lestitian with his pipe, which you couldn't do
Right.
today in the
Always
dugout.
got the pipe.
And there's Timmy right there. Is that the one with his tongue sticking out?
Timmy's next to
Yeah, Timmy's up there with the All-Star hat on. And
Right.
he's 3. He's next to Jake Reed's 2 over. He's right there.
Right.
And then I'm the big guy down there kneeling down all the way to all the way by Jake. My glove's bigger than I
yeah,
am.
your glove's big. Yeah, big glove.
But yeah, you got Irv Hard in that picture.
Is that
Dave,
Irv?
Dave
Is that Irv?
Vanneman.
God rest
Yep.
his soul.
Yep, Dave Vanneman's in there.
Harry Schweigel's in
Yep.
there. Bruce Sawn's in there.
Yep. Eddie
Danny
Moore.
Jork.
Yep.
Where's
Yeah,
Danny at, Greg? I remember him. He could sling it.
Oh, he can
Yeah,
swing.
he could sling it.
Yeah.
It was quite a group. But
And
yeah,
really, Tim and Danny were the best of friends growing up. In high school, they were really close. And
Yeah.
it's a shame, but Danny and Irv were killed in a car accident pretty early in life. So
it was
Nice-
it was
nice
a scene.
great
Great for
kids, man.
graduation.
Yeah, a lot of guys in that picture, Joe, went on to play,
Yep,
high
they sure
school
did.
ball. George, do you have the other Little League picture? You're gonna put
Oh,
me
there's
on
the good one.
test here.
Yeah,
There we
pick
go.
Timmy out in that picture.
Look at that one.
Is that
Look at his tongue hanging out.
Yep.
Yep.
that's where he got his name, Hot Doggy.
Yeah, it is. Hot doggy. That was the year Walt Lestitian, was it that year? Yeah, Walt Lestitian moved Timmy from shortstop to center field, and Timmy was livid. Mr. Shannon wasn't happy. It was good because Irv could play some shortstop. So moved Timmy to center field. He's out there kicking dirt, doing everything else. Some kid, I forget who it was, hit his shot into left center, and all of a sudden Timmy still to this day I don't know how he caught it. Well, that was okay now because, I can play center field. I'm okay out here. There's a lot of action, so he was good. But yeah, there's typical, Tim. This
Now, this was the year.
1968.
This was the year before. Or the year
No,
after.
68. This is the year we won the city champs. We were better than Mall Brothers,
And who did you beat in that game?
we beat Local 7.
And who was on that team?
You had quite a few. That's where my buddy Jimmy McCormick,
McCormick was
the
on that
legend,
team,
was.
yeah.
He was only 9. He'll tell you that.
don't-
He was a terror then. Mike Shannon was on there. Chipper Burkhart was on that
Did
team.
you- yeah.
Pat Finch was on. It was
With the
quite a
short
team.
porch and right.
Did
Yeah.
you play? Did you finish? What was your final game there at the airport?
No, our final game was at our field.
Okay.
We
I used to
upset
love
them
playing at
there.
that airport field. Though.
Short
yeah,
porch
well,
and
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that was cool. I love
Jimmy
that
Mack
field.
dominated over there. Even at 9, he was.
Oh, I know.
He was a terror with
Where
a
did
bat.
Timmy play in high school baseball?
Left field.
Outfield, yeah.
Was he?
Left field.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he was center.
He had such a good arm, and like I said, he center field. We didn't have to worry about anything. So, but that was
Great
funny. I remember
athlete.
him. He was upset.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about some things at the high school, and we'll make a quick switch here and bring Coach Andrews up.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
In South Jersey, we do things our own way. We say things out loud, face things head on, and never back down. And that's how we fight cancer. With the most advanced diagnostics, leading-edge technology, and a team of doctors who know how to treat your cancer. And most importantly, we do it right here at the Frank and Edith Scarpa Cancer Center, Vineland, and the Leading Edge Cancer Center, Mullica Hill.
A celebration of life. A tribute to the life of Tim Shannon. Join us now as we relive the memories and accomplishments with his friends, family, and colleagues as we celebrate the Commissioner of Fun.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about Tim's high school years and the great athlete that he was. And one of the things we were just talking about off the air was Tim not only was great in baseball, but he was great in track. And I think Bill Hoover, and I'm sure Hoover will text me and let me know the actual fact, but I think he was one of only 3 50-foot shot putters that the school had at the time. George Brooks, Bubba Green, and I think it was Tim, if I remember that correctly. Perhaps not, but Tim was on the track team, and then he came out for baseball the next year and was our starting left fielder and had a great career in baseball. But I saw Tim as a ninth grader. Ninth grade was ineligible to play varsity. I saw this big 6'3" guy, saw this little tiny guy next to me, and said, well, we got to make that guy the quarterback. And so Tim became our quarterback, and after we lost 3 games in a row, I called them both in. I said, we're going to make a change, and they both said, about time. And how many we won in a row? 9?
9.
Yeah, I think it was 9 in a row. And Timmy was a wide receiver, and as we
truth be told, Coach, you were a defensive guard in college.
This isn't about me.
All right. Okay.
It's about Tim.
All right.
So the other thing I'll point out is we had years after Tim played.
Quarterback's dream, wasn't he?
We had a player transfer in, Terry Challow, and he had white cleats, and I never made him change them. And I know Tim's looking down because every time I'd see him, he'd go, I never got to wear white cleats because we always had the black cleats on. But he was a terrific player. As we mentioned, he had at one time the interception record.
He still may have it.
And he still may have it, yeah.
Because it's season interception.
I'm sorry?
Season interception.
Season
okay. I knew he had one of
was
them.
Was it
Yep.
8 or 9?
8.
8. Yep. Well, we have the stat man right with us, Rich VanNord. He'll
He
be
could
up
roam
soon.
back here. I know, watching him on Saturdays play, he could roam back here.
And he was one of the top 100 players in the state, as picked by the New Jersey
Yes, really good.
Coaches Association. And I remember when I was talking with Tim, we're going to have Craig talk about the Hall of Fame, but I said, Tim, you were a great athlete, and he was so unaware of us, just very unassuming to want any of that individual stuff. That didn't matter to him at all. But he was, he was certainly one of the best athletes that ever came through Millville. And we'll talk a little bit about his basketball later. But go ahead, Craig.
Well, just the story that sticks out in my mind, you're talking about white shoes and black shoes and all that stuff. Tim painted his shoes orange for our Vineland game our senior year. And I think that was at the bequest of Coach McCluskey. But, yeah, he had orange shoes on for our senior victory, 35-0 over Vineland, and I thought that was pretty neat. But, yeah, it was a tough situation. Tim and I were very good friends, and, he got the nod at quarterback our sophomore year over me and played very well. But really didn't have a lot of good receivers to throw to. And then when Coach brought me in, Tim went to wide receiver, so I had one of the best receivers in South Jersey to throw to. So it was kind of easier for me and not as easy for him. But
of course, we didn't throw much.
Well, I was just going to say, he didn't throw much.
6 times a game.
6 or 8. But, what a football player, though. I played midget league against him and played with him, from 9th through 12th grade, and just a great football player with great instincts. He was a student of the game, much like Mike's a student of the baseball game. Tim was a student of the football game and knew where to be on offense and defense. Back then we played both ways, most of us, and what a great safety. Still has the interception record. And just a great receiver to throw to, a lot of good instincts, how to get open, and it was a lot of fun to play football with Mr. Tim Shannon.
I know Coach Andrews has a particularly good story that is close to his heart.
By far the most memorable event for me happened almost 50 years ago this month. Big impact from Tim. Tim was a sophomore in 1973, and he's going with Dave Sharp as a senior, Glenn Saunders a senior, Keith Elliott a senior, Kevin Trout a senior, a lot of juniors, but Timmy kind of led the way in leadership of forming everyone together to find out that 500 students are going to walk out of Millville High School in honor of me and supported me. A walkout that was formed probably in April and continued for maybe 2 days. In April, 500 students walked out of the building, came over to the junior high school where I was still teaching.
And not to
without
interrupt you,
calling.
tell people why. Why were they walking out?
Well, it dealt with certification. It dealt with, and this was more about Tim rather than me. But Timmy helped organize everything and led a parade from the funeral home down Sassafras Street to Height Street with a coffin that they secured from the funeral home.
With a sign that said, "The Board of Ed is dead."
Yeah. Yeah, so Craig was there, and it dealt with me saying something to the president of the Board of Education that he didn't like, and along with 7 other teachers, we were not going to be rehired for the following year. School year would be 73-74 school year. So students found out from Al Caldwell, Rocky Biggs, a lot of other teachers, a lot of adults from city of Millville, and I'm sure Mr. and Mrs. Shannon had a lot to do with it as well to help organize and set things straight, and eventually things worked out well for me. So the impact that Timmy had on my life was felt greatly by my family, my wife, and just continued all through his high school years of just a good respect from me to him. So,
Just to comment on that, Coach, if I may. And Tim was a leader. I mean, he was a leader. There's no question about it. You can just put a period after that. But what I remember is they were the students that led us on the walkout, and I was part of it, were able to convene a meeting at the auditorium at the high school with the Board of Education on the stage with the student leaders and talk out their differences. And Tim was in charge of that. And, you know, I was in the audience, and what a great thing to see, you know, with student leaders engaging with adult leaders of the Board of Education and working out a deal, so to speak, for not only Coach Andrews but the other teachers that they weren't going to rehire. So, and Tim was, you know, in charge of that. That walk down High Street was videoed by all 3 Philadelphia news stations, 3, 6, and 10, which is all you had back then. And I remember the coffin. It was an old sarcophagus coffin, like a wicker coffin, and we dug it out of the basement of the funeral home, and it was really cool. But the best thing was we walked out of school and didn't go to school all day, but Coach Surace says, "Come to baseball practice at 3 o'clock." And we were allowed to do that.
I remember that, though. Even as a young kid, Kevin was involved in that, my brother.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
So going back to what Craig said about the auditorium was totally packed, and people were in the hallway because they couldn't get in to see, and the door went all the way out to the doorway. So I mean, it was.
Do you remember it, Tim speaking?
Oh yeah. So they they voiced opinions, and Timmy they had microphones in all the aisles down front, and as Craig said, it was highly organized and done well.
I think it speaks to, you know, as Craig said, Tim's leadership back then. He was a great leader. We'll talk about his leadership in the city and the things that he's done there. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, Tim was a great leader, tremendously, and everything he did. His family, he was a leader of his family, loved his family. I got to say that. I was his neighbor for a long time, and nothing was more important to him than Leslie and the kids and the grandkids and mom and dad and so on and so forth. But he also had, and I think everybody can agree with this, even if Kim's here and worked with him in TA and so forth, is he had a moral compass. As big a personality as he had a clear moral clarity about him. He knew, he had a great instinct for what was right and what was wrong, and he was not going to apologize if he was right, and he was generally right.
Even back then, he knew it was right.
Exactly.
Not to have
to the day he passed, that's the way that man was. He was steadfast in that, and I just think it's, we're all going to miss him, but man, the city's going to miss that, because there's not too many of those people around, and he just had a clear moral clarity about him and everything he did, and so. I think I just had to say that. It fits right into what you were talking about. Great leader, tremendous leader, and he was a great coach and a great mayor. But in everything he did, like I said, he was. You
talk about him coaching, and you mentioned coaching Teal, and I know he was instrumental in coaching your daughter, right? What was the name of that team?
Tidal Wave
that he started and did a great job with softball.
Oh yeah,
and it was interesting because when we were talking about today's event, Jeff and I got a text back from Greg Goodwin, and he said, do you want to talk about this?
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I just printed it out.
I golfed with Greg the other day. We were talking about Timmy. That's all we did was talk about Timmy for 9 holes. We played a 9-hole course.
Well,
Greg just thought he was the best, and it hit him hard, like it did everybody.
Sure. Had such an impact on the kids he coached, like you said.
He had an impact on so many people. You have no idea,
And many people don't know that he was a high school basketball coach with Greg.
Yep.
And did a great job. They coached for 3 years together. Here's what Greg said. He had such a great rapport with the kids. He knew how to motivate them. In our last year, we made a run at the conference in Group 4. He was a big factor. Best thing was when I would see the kids we coached, they would always ask how Coach Shannon was. And I would call him when I went to GAMI for advice. He gave me the greatest line that always worked. He would tell his players, if you're afraid, I'll get somebody else in. Yeah. And that was the competitiveness of him.
And he led his life that way. He wasn't afraid, and he, he was, like I said, he was a great coach, and put his heart and soul into everything.
And I know he coached in midget league football, and he spent a lot of time in the community doing coaching as well as softball. Coached the World Series, right?
Correct.
With the Mobile Softball World Series. Let me shift gears for a minute and let Craig talk a little bit about Tim's involvement with the Thunderbolt Club.
So, the Thunderbolt Club wouldn't be as it is today without Tim Shannon and several other people, Tom Ayres, Steve Young. They had the foresight to know that we needed to expand from the airport, the small building at the airport, and they were able to secure land on 8th Street from the Board of Education and build that Thunderbolt Club. And I can say, it was Tim, TA, and Steve that organized it and did everything. So my hat's off to all three of those gentlemen. It wouldn't be the same today if they weren't here. And I thank them for what they did for that club. I'm very proud to be the president of that club, and without them, it wouldn't have happened. And I know, if we're in the QBC studios, I'll never forget Tim ran
auction.
And not an auction, but telethon.
Telethon.
Thanks,
right.
Rich or Joe. And was able to raise, I think it was on a Saturday, he raised $50,000 on one Saturday. He just sat with a mic in front of him and told jokes and, said, call in, give me some money. And listen,
that club, as you well know, through that telethon as well, so many hands were involved. Jim Rubart gave a roof, donated a roof.
Yeah.
And
The
people
community
were
came
calling in.
together.
Yes, they did.
They really
And again,
did.
that's
Nicke Pettit?
Nicke
Nicke Pettit. But you know, you talk about leadership. The other word I always think about with Tim is charisma. I mean,
Yeah.
when he walked into a room, he lit it up, and you know he could control that room and work the room. And I used to just stand there and watch him, and he would go from person to person, and he was you know, I mean, a thousand people came to his funeral.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just don't see that with. Well, you're not going to see that at my funeral, I'll tell you that. But the charisma of that gentleman really amazed me. And he used to come up and visit me at college at Westchester just to do a little partying, you know. And he was even charismatic up at Westchester. But a funny story, we partied one Friday night pretty late, and then we went to the basketball court to play a little pickup game the following day. And the other team had, and I think Joe Derella remembers, Curly Jungers. Curly Jungers was about a 6'5" guy that could jump out of the gym. I think he made like a couple All-American teams for the Division I Westchester basketball team. And leave it to me. I said, Tim, cover that guy with curly hair. And he did. And Tim called me everything you could call somebody because Curly Junger just went right around dunking behind his back. And I'm like, who's this guy? So, anyway.
Well, you know, we touched on Tim's basketball coaching, but he was also a good basketball player. And I know you said you saw him play.
Oh, yeah. I remember those days. You had to
terrific.
get to the JV game at halftime to get a seat to see the varsity game. Back in those days, you know, that was just after Shaw and those guys. But they used to pack that gym in, and yeah, he was fun to watch on the basket. Aggressive, good shooter, could jump out of the gym, and yeah, he was fun to watch on the court. So
So when I talked to him about the Hall of Fame, and I said, Tim, you're a three-sport athlete. Actually, 4 sports. So selfless.
I know.
Didn't want to hear it.
I know.
And how many years did we try? But we finally, through Amy, really, was able to convince him that we would give him the Lifetime Achievement Award, which he also deserved.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, that was a.
And you know what?
was
And
nice.
before I see Jim's moving around back there. Before I go, I got to say this. My son's got a lot of fans, obviously, in town, and this town's been so good to us. But he was one of the biggest Mike Trout fans that you could imagine. He was watching Mike when Mike was 10. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and traveled to all kind of podunk cities when he was in the minors, making shirts and stuff like that, and just, you know, text me all the time about it, and just, really appreciate that. It hit my family hard. You know, he was close to the family.
And then when Mike achieved success in the major leagues, he got the banners started. He got all the things to promote. You know, the fact that we have the best baseball player in the world.
That's beside
in
the talking about. I'm just saying he was there for
Well,
the whole ride.
He was there.
He was there for the whole ride, and I can't say that about a lot of people because you know he was a neighbor. You know, and so he watched Mikey grow up. But you know,
In the Stones.
Yeah.
Well, the producer's giving me the axe here. You know, so. Since he owns the show, we'd better cut it off here. So thank you guys for being part of this. We'll take a break. George will put up some photos, and we'll go on with the city commission life of Tim Shannon.
Well done.
Insurance,
Good job,
we're
Tony.
proud
Good
to have been
session.
serving
Rolling
our
it
customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
In South Jersey, we do things our own way. We say things out loud, face things head on, and never back down. And that's how we fight cancer. With the most advanced diagnostics, leading-edge technology, and a team of doctors who know how to treat your cancer. And most importantly, we do it right here at the Frank and Edith Scarpa Cancer Center, Vineland, and the Leading Edge Cancer Center, Mullica Hill.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Imagine living without pain. For over 35 years, Doctors Beebe and Doyle have helped thousands of people find relief from all types of pain. Millville Chiropractic Center has 4 doctors on staff specializing in hands-on or light-touch, drug-free pain relief methods. The examination, x-rays, therapies, and adjustments are all performed at one location. Schedule a consultation today. Enjoy life without pain and discomfort. Millville Chiropractic Center, the area's #1 pain relief center.
Complete Care has some big news to share with you.
We're here opening more locations and offering more services every day,
including our newest locations on Pearl Street in Bridgeton and High Street in Millville.
We're here with convenient, high quality, and accessible healthcare services all under one roof.
We're here just a call or email away.
We're here to provide compassionate care for you and your family.
We're here and we're ready when you are.
Complete Care Health Network, ready when you are.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
A celebration of life, a tribute to the life of Tim Shannon. Join us now as we relive the memories and accomplishments with his friends, family, and colleagues as we celebrate the Commissioner of Fun.
Welcome back to the tribute to Tim Shannon, and boy, he was the Commissioner of Fun. And you know, everybody, we all think about Tim and we smile. I swear we all smile, all 4 of us up here. Walker Ayres is with us, and former Freeholder Director, and Vice Mayor Joe Derella, and the lady with a great smile, that Liz Buckley Nicke. Right? We
Not Pettit.
No, I know. I don't know where that came out. But I've known Liz since she was a little girl. We were neighbors on Delsea Drive in Millville, rather. And Kim, you had the opportunity to be Economic Development Director when Timmy came on board. And was there anybody ever like him? I mean, he's a special person. Don't you think?
No, I was telling Liz that everybody was so excited when he got elected, and I was not. I only knew Timmy socially, and he was very much the Commissioner of Fun in a social sense, and so I was worried. I can remember being in the drafting room upstairs in engineering, and everybody was so excited, so pumped up, and Jimmy Corson saying to me, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I said, "I don't know, Jimmy. Do you really think he's going to be serious and really take this seriously?" And within a very short period of time, I was proven wrong. He took it very seriously. And I think listening to the last session where the guys were talking about his leadership and his sense of team, I think he brought that same philosophy to the city commission. You know, even though he was one person, they worked together as a team, and they accomplished a lot by doing that, and I think a lot of that was through, the guys knowing each other and having all been in sports, participated in that, but they brought that sense of team to the city as well.
And, I was the old fat guy, so I didn't get to participate in sports, but I got to call the sports. So at least I got to call Timmy and Joey and all the guys that did a great job. Boy, Joe, as Kim was talking about, I mean, we've served many years, and a couple of years I served. I wish the hell I'd never served. But all the other ones, when Timmy was there, you were there. We had Jimmy Parent. What a great group of people. And this is a story I got to tell you. Jeff's still here, wasn't he?
No.
No, Jeff left. Oh, forget him. Well, I'll say the story anyway. In 1997, I was encouraging Jeff Trout to run for city commission. So we had a meeting in my conference room and all that stuff, and he said, yeah, Jim, I think I'm going to do it. I said, I'm going to support you. Well, then Lou Clendaniel came in the next day to the studio here, and he goes, Jim, you said you always wanted to be the mayor of Millville, and you're bored because business is good. I said, yeah, that's an idea. So I ended up running it, and Jeff says to me, you son of a gun, you said that. I said, don't worry, we'll both win, and we did. We were 1, 2, and you were 3 or 4 or 5. You were 5, but you were special. Because you are the man. Joe, I'll tell you, Joe never told me, folks, and this is the other thing. I got to tell you, I am the only person in the city's history that is not named Robinick or Shannon that had the public, the fund department. They only let me have her one term. Tim says, get the hell out of here. This is a Shannon thing. This ain't Quinn.
That's why he ran. He wanted to get the name back.
Yes, he did. He wanted to keep the same. And we have Robinick now back in there as well. But, Liz, he was so special, wasn't he?
He surely was. I said, I was blessed in the beginning with Rob as my boss.
Oh, yeah.
And Rob being the mayor. And they were two different personalities work-wise. Rob was very hands-on and checking everything and going over. And I'm like, oh, my God, how many times are you going to go over this? Like, enough's enough already. And Timmy was more like, let's get it done.
Let's have fun.
Get it on its way. Right. Let's have fun. And but it was a blessing for me to have both of them as my boss. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, Kim, coming back to what you had said, too, I'm thinking, Tim Shannon? Because I knew him as the commissioner. Well, he was commissioner. He was this fun guy. And somebody said earlier, which I totally agree, I got to say, the Shannon family, in my mind, was one of the best families in the city of Millville. 51 years ago, Bob Shannon, Tim's dad, gave me a loan to buy Bim's Pizzeria, and it's still there. But, he had a Millville Savings and Loan. His wife, Jean, was involved with the funeral home, and 4 of the greatest kids you'll ever meet with Rob and Tim and Tina and Vicky. Just a great family. Mm-hmm. So that's where, of course, I've got this other story, too. I got Tim in trouble. Did you hear about this, Joe? What I did?
Tend to do that well on his own.
Well, I know, but I got him in trouble. We had it honoring a banquet for the football team. Timmy's final year, they won something big, so we took them up to the Midway restaurant. I don't know, Craig, were you there for this when we did this?
No.
Anyway, what happened is Pat Finch was there. So I'm in charge of the dinner, the lunch, and all that. The lady comes by to me, and she says, Mr. Shannon, or that fellow over there, and the guy next to him want to know if they can have a drink. I said, yeah, they're 18. Sure, they can have a drink. But that didn't set well with the principal and with Mr. Shannon, Bob Shannon. So Timmy used to say, you son of a gun, you got me in trouble doing that. But he was smiling the whole time he was drinking.
Well, they were both 18 at the time.
Yeah, it was legal.
Was there, but it was a school event.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's why I didn't know that, Joe. See, if I'd had you for my advisor, I didn't know what to do.
I think you have to remember, too, the years that Tim was on the city commission and the years he was mayor were very important changing years in the city of Millville. There was a lot of development going on, the motorsports park,
right,
the Target Shopping Center,
Millville Town Center,
developing the Levoy and developing the Levoy again.
Yeah.
And, there was a lot of really things that changed the city for the good, I think, anyway, that were occurring then that needed real attention, that needed some serious thought. And it wasn't long before you would go from maybe thinking we're going to send this guy in front of the DEP to defend us to send that guy in front of the DEP to defend us, because he would do anything to put the city in its rightful place, to move the city forward. He took a lot of criticism. He took into consideration a lot of different viewpoints. And I can remember him saying everything we gave him, he would take home, and he had a tub next to his recliner. And it would go in the tub, and eventually when he got home and got into his recliner, he would open up the tub, and he did. I feel like he read everything we gave him, digested it. And, there really was an intellectual side to Tim that because he was so serious about wanting Millville to do well.
Competitive. He wanted to make sure that we won the game.
Yeah.
And, when he was reading that tub, I'd have to keep my phone nearby because he would call and ask questions and do what we had to do. But, yeah, you made a great point earlier. It was a very good team atmosphere. All of us played or were involved with sports somehow, some way. And when you look back at that, we did disagree. People thought we did not. But we did that on the stairwell. We did it in the back room. We did it over the phone. And we worked our way through those problems. But the agenda was always how do we make where we live a little bit better. And that never wavered in any of us, you both included. And Timmy really lived that and believed that, just like I do and we all do. So again, there were times when we did not did agree. We didn't we were at it, but when time came, we had to put our votes out. We stayed strong and did what was right. There's a lot of things that happen through parks that people don't recognize.
Realize, right.
You've got Buck Park, you've got the docks, and Stewart Estate Walk, which now is really is falling apart a little bit, but that walk through there, all the way to connect all the fields. The soccer complex, he negotiated that with Goodman Properties. I mean, there's a lot of things that people forget that Timmy really spearheaded and pushed forward without a doubt.
I got to tell you, for the soccer complex, got one of the best soccer coaches here tonight, Bill Stadnick.
Yep.
Bill's doing camera for us. And after 17 years, Bill, it's not going to be 17 more before you come back and visit us, but thank you for being here. But Kim, one thing that you brought up about the economic development stuff, you and Don were the key people to all of that success. I mean, Joe and I did what we could do, Timmy did what he could do, but you two had the magic touch, and you were able to bring us millions. Here's an example, because of Tim, or of Kim. When we first got elected, Joe, you and I, the rateable base in Millville was about $800 million. By the time I got as Timmy was taking over as mayor and I was ending as mayor, it had doubled to $1.6 billion. So that's a tribute to you guys, and of course we were supportive. There's no question. And one thing Jim Perrin always said, and boy was he right, look at the people we had working for us. We had Liz Nicke, we had Tom Ayres, we had Kim Ayres, we had Don Ayres. But those Ayres, they were pretty darn good. And we had Hattie Ayres for a while too. If I remember. She was a sweetheart. And we had so many good people, and Lou Thompson, heading up the group, and it really was. It was a great group, and we all, like Joe said, Joe, I don't ever remember you and I having a real tough discussion, because I always knew you were smarter than me. So whatever Joe said, Joe, that's good. You we go with that, But
we had, I think all of us had the same vision. I think that's what was important. Don and I were just the people having ideas and trying to sell them to the commissioners, but we had engineering who could take those ideas and make them into a project. We had Liz who could, once it was a project, take care of it and work through it. And so there was just a lot of components, a lot of puzzle pieces that fit together really well. It was really no one person or two people. It was really, a team effort, but everybody was rowing in the same direction. Everybody wanted the same end goal. Yeah.
And boy, you know what? I spent 18 and a half years in Millville. 16 and a half were fabulous. 2 were horrible. That's why I went back to Joe. John, come back to you, to this county. Get me out of this crazy place.
We had a good time.
We did.
It
Absolutely.
was fun. Great staff. Timmy, he had his moments where he'd be biting his lip, and we'd leave and we would go find a libation somewhere, and he would say, "Man, I don't know. I can't bite my tongue any harder than I bit it. I don't know how you do it. You just sit there." And again, that passion though for the city of Millville. I mean, he set the standard for giving back to a community. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But yeah, there were nights where he would be grabbing by the back of the shirt. "We're going. Let's go, man. We got to get to." But again, always had great discussion. He'd come down to my house. I'd stop down to his house. We'd go over things, talk about things. He had some great thoughts and some great vision. He did his homework. People. One time he ran, he had his slogan, "You have Tim Shannon for mayor, he's got issues." It was a great slogan. It was supposed to be funny, but he really understood the issues. And I go back to what you said at the start, could he be serious? Well, I've always seen that serious side, being on a basketball court, trying to play ping pong and trying to beat him, and we'd split a series. That seriousness came out there. The same thing happened when he was involved with city government, that competitiveness to want to make sure Millville was number one. And whatever he was going to do that, he made sure he did it. He was very committed to that, but he wasn't afraid to have fun at the same time.
Oh yeah, he had fun.
Didn't he start the parties down the riverfront?
The river parties. In fact, I'll tell you what, he said he had a vision. So we had the block parties down at Buck Park, and they were, fun. We had bands and everything, and he hired a guy, unbeknownst to me, that was going to climb up this ladder and jump in a 20-foot vat of water while he lit himself on fire. And I was like, Timmy, really?
That was Rob, wasn't it?
No. Right. I said, Tim, really, please, let's think this over. I mean, like, I'm thinking to myself, I want a pension, and I spent all these years with the city, right? And he's like, no, it's going to be good. I already talked to the guy. I don't even know where he got this guy from. And sure enough, they had this great big tower of water with a big ladder, and Timmy was so excited that night, and it was like the big crescendo of the guy getting up on the ladder, and sure enough, he, set himself on fire and dove into the water, and we were like, oh my God, I'm just thinking liability and risk management and all this stuff is going to happen, and then we were stuck with this great big 20-foot tower of water that we had to watch all night long, because you had to think about, like, you just couldn't let the public, just leave that water there and somebody climb up there. And we said to the guy, you got to get this tower out of town with the water in it, But Tim came up with some good ideas, and the chicken barbecue, I'll never forget that.
Just surviving that many chicken barbecues,
right?
Probably an accomplishment.
Right, and the chicken barbecue with the chickens that were raw. Yeah.
Oh, I remember those.
Yep.
Yeah. Corson Park. Yeah.
Well, you should have taken a phone call. He calls me. He says, Joey D, I got this idea. We're going to put this guy on the thing. He says, what do you think it's going to do to insurance? I just didn't know what to say.
Right, yeah.
Couldn't tell you, Tim. He says, you know what? We also want to sell beer down there. I said, well, I can jump on that with you, but let's talk to the insurance brokers and see what we got to do here.
I just wanted to quickly go over some of the people who have commented. Pedro Vasquez said, very nice tribute to Tim. Paul Capiz talked about Jim Stites also being a great track person. Mary Linda DeHanet, the protest for Eddie, she remembers very well. It was really a great day. Tiffany Swift, I think her husband's around here somewhere. She says, make sure he behaves himself. She says, love the video that she's seen. Ian Griffiths, Bonnie Lorenzo, Bob Connor. Bob, you are the best. Bob is one of the best advertisers. Without Bob, we wouldn't have Millville football, baseball, basketball, all that kind of stuff.
Well, you wouldn't have Riverfront with the other guy jumping either. No.
Right. That's right. He covered us. Right. Cindy Abel said that she has great memories of Tim and her son Anthony playing football. Bob Curry said Tim was a great man. And Jamie Langsdorff says thanks for the tribute to Tim. Donna Vassell. Samantha Cruz, I think I know her. I think she's the one who replaced you. And she said the one and only for Tim, which is so true. And Nicole Hutchinson's prayer for Tim. Judy Brown, prayers for Timmy. Vicky Beebe also said nice tribute. Michael Andrews, very nice tribute. And Noel Branham, my buddy, the one and only Tim Shannon, is what he was saying.
I want to bring that up about Samantha and Tim, what happened. And we were talking about his heart was so big and so worried about the people in Millville. And it was one Christmas, and we were working Christmas Eve, and, the city would let you get off a couple hours early. And Timmy had Sam going out and buying Christmas presents for a family.
Yeah.
She was out shopping late Christmas Eve. Timmy gave her the money, wrapping gifts for a family that, we came across, and they were very close. Sam and Tim got to be very close, and she married Samantha. He married Samantha. He was mayor then, and he married her and John.
Nice.
So.
Yeah.
But he did a lot of that stuff very, very quietly.
Yes.
He did, Kim.
Yes, he
very
did.
quietly.
Leroy
He
Theater,
helped
too.
the people who got displaced by the
Yes.
Leroy
Made
Theater.
sure they had
and
vouchers, paid for
Yeah.
rooms.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's just, well, I always said, I made a list one day on Facebook of people who are bigger than life. When they walk in the room, they light up the room. Tim and Rob were certainly two of them in Millville. I mean, they're just special, special people.
And he could do that despite whatever the audience was.
Yeah,
it could
that's
be
true.
artists in Center City. It could be Center City residents. It could be,
Could be in Trenton.
Trenton. Yeah, I mean, he had the ability to really know how to talk to each segment.
How about when his mom got the parking ticket when she was getting her hair done?
Tell us about that. I didn't know that. Best hidden under the table. I didn't know about that.
Go ahead. You know it. Do it.
It was in the handicap, right?
No, she overstayed her 2-hour parking.
Oh,
Because,
downtown.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's
that's
downtown
right,
in the
that's right.
hairdresser.
Yep.
And she came out, she had a ticket, she stormed down to City Hall and just told him, you got to fix this thing. I can't do that, Mom, I can't do that. It's not what you're supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. So Timmy paid the ticket. Then he framed it. And I was there one day when somebody else was coming in being, this is ridiculous. Those officers should have somebody to do. And Timmy would just point to the wall. Couldn't get my mom out.
Right.
It was a perfect way out.
Hey, Kim, Joe, and Liz, thank you so much for coming in, and
Yes.
thank you all for being with us. We've got lots of great people coming. I'm getting out of here. We're bringing the coach back, the coach of the year, and he's going to be talking with the commissioner on Commissioner of Fun with TA, the other half of this. Let's see, KA and TA, and then Judge Swift will be here, and Craig. So they'll be back right after these messages. Thanks, guys, for sparing some time with us.
Sure.
It looks like 4th place or 5th place went to Dale Finch. 4th place went to Dave Vanneman. 3rd place went to my good friend Joey Derella.
Yeah.
Jim Quinn came in 2nd. Woo! And the big dog's barking, I got 1st. I want everybody to understand that finish. That's James Shannon at the top. James Quinn came in 2nd. And Joe Derella, the 3 J's at the top of that How's that feel, baby?
Bang the gavel!
I just want to tell everybody how excited I am. I'll tell you what. I am ecstatic. I am so pleased. I feel vindicated by the people of Millville getting out and voting for the 3 J's.
Right.
Because we've taken so much grief from a small group of people in this town.
Amen.
That have a backwards thinking, and I think the 3 J's have thought forward and will move the city forward under extreme economic tough times. We will continue to move forward, and I'm looking forward to the challenge in the next 4 years.
4 more years! 4 more years!
Hi, Tim Shannon, former mayor, longtime city commissioner in the city of Millville, and huge supporter of the Levoy Theater, asking you for your support. Join me in the balcony as I'm starting a new group called the Balcony Bunch. I'm trying to bring the Levoy into the next generation and maintain a strong structural financial base in our community. And I know that it's very important for all theaters, not just the Levoy, but theaters across the country to have a base group of donors. I would like to start a group called the Balcony Bunch. And the Balcony Bunch is going to be a fun bunch of folks. And we're not asking for a lot of money. You want to be a member of the Balcony Bunch? It's going to cost you $250 a year. And we would like you to make a 4-year commitment, but if you can't, that's fine. 1-year commitment would be good. But we'd love to get you to do a 4-year commitment, because in 4 or 5 years, when the Levoy is open for 5, 6 years, they're going to be able to have a better track record and be able to go out and apply for grant opportunities and things of that nature. But it's very important that the folks that in the city of Millville and surrounding areas that enjoy the Levoy, buy tickets to the shows, we need to step up and do more to make sure that this Levoy is there for our children and their children's children. And we can perpetuate this grand lady in our downtown known as the Levoy Theater. Many, many things being offered as a member of the Balcony Bunch, along with a great party being hosted by me. And don't tell anybody, but I think I know how to throw a party. So you want to get involved and support the arts.
A celebration of life. A tribute to the life of Tim Shannon. Join us now as we relive the memories and accomplishments with his friends, family, and colleagues as we celebrate the Commissioner of Fun.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to going to hear from a very special person, Tim's daughter, in a few minutes. As soon as she calls in, she has a few things to say. And one thing she texted me and said, why did I say granddaughters and not grandchildren? The two boys I left out, Cooper and RJ, so I apologize to those two young men. So we'll start with the Commissioner of Fun stuff. We all know that Tim enjoyed a party, as he said on the Levoy thing. He knew how to throw one, and he knew how to be part of one. So let's start with TA. Some memories of your good friend Tim.
Well, I had written down about 500 things. And I think we'd have to have a calendar to tell Tim stories instead of like a 20-minute time limit. So I had to throw out 490 of them due to the rules from the FCC, I think. So. But we can all tell great golf stories. We can tell stories about playing sports. We can. I really don't know where to start actually, but I'm going to tell one golf story about. I think it was Tim's proudest moment of golfing. We used to have a trip we would go to Hershey Country Club, and if you won the tournament, I think we had 16 guys that year, and it was Tim's first time going to this tournament, and he didn't know how much money it'd take, so he took like $3,000 over 4 days, and get up there. And if you won this tournament, you won the prestigious brown jacket, as opposed to the green jacket for the Masters tournament. And on the it's 3 rounds of golf. We played 2 at Hershey Country Club and 1 at West Shore Country Club up there, and which I think you probably are familiar with those.
Yep.
And came into the last round, and Tim's coming down the 18th hole, and it's a par 4. You drive down just short of the water, and then there's a huge lake and a green up here, and Tim's in the last group. So you have 12 guys sitting on the veranda staring at you to hit that shot over the water. Tim's playing with a guy named Joe Quinn, who was famous for being a little bit crazy. And
Tim was, as I say, a moron.
Okay. He was more like Craig. And Tim drives one straight down the middle. He has like 80 yards to the green, which is Tim's most hated shot, right? 80 yards. He can drive the ball and do anything. So he gets up there, right? Drives up to the ball. We're up there. Of course, we're screaming at him. We're like, come on, you got a 2-stroke lead. Like that, thinking he's going to, whatever he's going to do. Joe Quinn forgot his club on the previous hole. Takes the car and drives away from Tim, now left standing in the middle of the fairway.
With no club.
With no club there. And now the pressure's like building, right? So we're even howling louder up there, right? Finally, here comes Quinny through the woods, right? Gets the club out. Tim takes it, knocks it like 2 feet away, taps it in, wins the tournament. I think that's one of his best moments. And of course, the brown jacket was too small for him, but it was okay.
You talk about Tim as an athlete. He was a great golfer, too. I mean, Tim was a really good golfer. And, if he had put some more time into it, I think he would have been probably, he was a single handicapper, I think.
He was.
Towards the end of his life, he was a single handicapper. And he was competitive on the golf course, too. I mean, you talk about competitive. He was competitive there, too.
Tim organized an interesting golf tournament called Moonlight Madness years ago, and where we teed off like at midnight with glow balls, and it was held over at Cohanzic Country Club. But the interesting story about that was down at the bottom of the second hole, we had a keg of beer, and everybody would stop there and have a beer or two. But near the end of the tournament, like the entire tournament was down by that keg of beer, and Tim was at the clubhouse waiting to give the prizes out, and nobody was in the clubhouse. Everybody was down by the keg of beer. So
that tournament didn't last real long, if I remember.
It lasted 2 years.
Yes.
I mean, there was some problems with carts in the traps, but it was dark, and it was a lot of fun. But hey, listen, up just till last summer, Tim and Wayne Rizzo, from Cumberland Engraving, who's a big sponsor of our Mike Trout tournament, Thunderbolt Club tournament. But they organized a couple tournaments. We played the Bridgeton golfers in a tournament, and then we had the Tri-City, Bridgeton, Vineland, and Millville tournament, golf tournament for the old timers, basically. Some young guys, but mostly for the old timers, and had a trophy and did award ceremonies and things like that. And Tim loved doing that kind of stuff. I mean, organizing tournaments and golfing, and we talked about the Tidal Wave. Tim was the guy who, and I think the Tidal Wave girls softball traveling team is still in existence as we speak today.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we did that back when our daughters were, maybe early teens or something like that, and had a very competitive team. He and Lieutenant Dan Kellett, Lieutenant Dan, coached that team and did a great job with the girls. And as Jeff mentioned, very competitive. I mean, we coached the out of those girls to have them be competitive, and Tim was behind all that. So just a competitive guy, an organizer, and a leader. So a lot of fun to be around too.
Yeah, I think I recall them when you spoke of the Moonlight Madness. Tim had the bright idea on the very first one that we should go play 9 holes while it was light out.
Right.
Then go sit in the bar
for only a couple,
for about
3 hours.
3 hours. And I think that's how the carts ended up either into a tree or a bush or in the trap somehow.
Yeah, that might have had something to do with it.
The next year, we decided 9 holes was probably plenty to play.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that next year, a thunderstorm came in real late, and I don't know if Joe Derella's still here, but I think he got hit by a cart in the cart shack, which was pretty funny.
A couple things that didn't mention when Tim was commissioner, and he put together that I think are important, is the return of all the veterans. So anybody who served that came home from serving in Millville, Tim, was there and had a parade for it. Made a big deal about every veteran from Millville that came home.
Right.
And I think that was,
it was huge.
It was huge, right? And those young men and women really appreciated what he did for them. And I think it really showed the respect that the city had for those guys coming back.
And the Thomas Walker monument.
Right. Absolutely. Right. And the other thing that Tim, I think, I don't know if it was his idea, but I know he put a lot of effort into it. And there you go, right there is the 911 tributes, because that happened when Tim was mayor, I guess, and every year he put these tributes on, and one of the nicest tributes in all the state that was done was here in Millville, and Tim was responsible for that, and again, just showed just kind of person he was.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit. Craig talked about the Thunderbolt Club a little bit, and he came to me after they had the telethon. I think they raised $45,000, which was enough for us to go to Conestoga Building and build a building, a shell of a building. And he came to me and said, we gotta build this building. And I'm going like, okay, all right, how are we going to do this? And
emphasis on we.
Yeah. So I enlisted some guys I knew, which everybody knows some guys around town. My brother Jack was one of the biggest guys over there, and we got Phil Berry and Jimmy Rubar, Don Headley and Dan the Tool. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
And we got all the unions involved. And before we got started, Tim, Steve Young, and I went to Newfield Bank, walked in there, with probably $40 between the three of us, and said, we want to borrow $75,000. And Duke Luciano was the president of Newfield Bank. And we started getting questions from all over the place. This guy, well, how's this going to work? Well, how are you going to make this payment? You make that payment? And we weren't prepared to answer any of those questions, And so I guess the phone rang, and got me like that, and he go, he slid the papers over. Can you sign over here, please? And 3 of us signed for $75,000. And then we started working on the building.
Still with no idea who's going to pay it back or how it's going to happen.
Right. I guess me, Tim, and Steve were going to pay it back. I don't know. But, so we did that, and fortunately for us, Nicke Pettit, and there was a fund of money in the state each year for certain projects. And we applied one year, and we didn't get it. And I think the second or third year, we got it, and we got the $75,000, and we had a meeting, and we burned the mortgage. Yep. And then from that time on, we had enough money to finish the building, but we had parking lots donated, we had concrete donated, we had, it was unbelievable. I don't think you could do it anywhere. Matter of fact, a guy from the Red and Gray Club came down, 3 of them, and we were working on the building for, I think it took us 2.5 years to build a building, something like that. And working on the building, the guy walks in and he goes, "We can't do this in Vanna." I said, "What do you mean you can't do it?" And he says, "Too many chiefs, not enough Indians." And I said, "You might be right."
Well, that's the thing about the Thunderbolt Club that makes me so proud, is the fact that the community came together. And it was, a lot of it was the athletic community. I mean, guys like T.A. and Paul Ewan that had played sports in high school and saw the need for, a club like that, a booster club for the high school athletics, and what it's morphed into in today's world is just unbelievable. We're able to give over $25,000 a year per year in scholarships, and we're able to give stipends to individual athletes or to individual teams, and we run the Hall of Fame. There's a shot of Tim and I. I guess that's.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Yeah, that's him.
That's probably my induction. Tim inducted me, and then last year I inducted Tim. What do you got, Amy?
I got Amy. She's screaming in my ear.
All right, Amy. I'll relinquish it to you.
I can get Craig to shut up for a minute. Are you there?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're on the mic, so we're happy to have you, and we're thrilled to put this tribute on.
Or Cooper.
That's Leslie.
Oh, that's Leslie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
You mention RJ or Cooper?
RJ and Cooper. Yeah, I did mention them last go
No,
round.
you mentioned my granddaughters, but not my grandsons.
Okay, well, Amy just texted me, gave me the scoop, so I thought I mentioned them. But we'll do it again.
It's all right. What she
Do
say?
you want to say? Do you want to say something on the air? Because you're live.
No.
Well, I hope you're pleased with it. I'm waiting for Amy to call in. I didn't even look at it. I thought it was her.
I'm just crying here. Okay.
Oh, don't cry. All right, we're going to try to get Amy. All right, continue, Craig. I'll try to get Amy.
Well, you were talking about him getting the award, and he didn't want that either. No. I mean, he didn't want that award. And I mean, well deserved. I mean, one of the.
Listen, I wrote his biography, and the last sentence in his biography on his plaque says, "Tim Shannon epitomizes the word lifetime achievement for the city of Millville," and he passed away too early. There's no question about that. But what he accomplished in his life, a lifetime achievement, is second to none as far as I'm concerned. And, he's so deserving of that there's a movement afoot that came from Barb Surace, Coach Surace's wife, who we're going to, in May, ask the Hall of Fame board to name the Lifetime Achievement Award for the Millville Sports Hall of Fame after Tim Shannon. So I'd like to call the Lifetime Achievement Award the Tim Shannon Lifetime Achievement Award. That's how much it means to me, as my friend Tim meant to me. So.
Okay, Amy, are you there?
Yes. Hi.
I hope you're enjoying the show.
I'm gonna catch it on replay.
Oh, you got 2 little kids running around.
Yeah, and I just got home from work, so
Well, You're live and on the air, so if you'd like to say something, go ahead. Your mother just called me. I thought it was you, and she gave me hell for not naming the boys, which I did, but
Fair
anyway.
enough. Well, I wanted to say hi to everybody and thank everyone for doing this beautiful tribute to my dad. Like I said, I will be catching it on replay either later tonight or tomorrow. Words really and truly can't express the outpouring of love from, the community, from our business partners to our friends and our family. Complete strangers have reached out to me via social media to express their condolences and how much my dad made an impact in their lives. And that's really, really, really impressive and meaningful. And I've actually learned a lot after his passing about how much he really did. I always knew, how active he was in the community, and you saw it. He was out there. But there were a lot of things that he did behind closed doors that no one really knew about. And it's impressive how big and how much he actually did. For me, he wasn't only my dad, but he was a friend. I talked to him daily, and he always had my back. He was one of my biggest supporters through sports, whether it was field hockey or softball. But more than anything, he was just a great dad. Like I said, he always had my back, but he definitely made me and taught me lessons the hard way throughout life. Things weren't as easy as maybe they had seemed to others, because Dad instilled certain things and morals and values along the way. And for that, I will forever be grateful. But I do want to thank everyone at the studio tonight putting on this amazing tribute. I want to thank the community for the outpouring of love, and the friends and family and the support that everyone has given me and my sister and my mom over the past month.
Well, you're more than welcome, Amy. Thanks for calling in. I know it's a tough time. We all know it's a tough time for your whole family. We're all, a little teary-eyed when we think about Tim and the great loss that we suffer, but you and your family have suffered a greater loss. So bear with us, and hopefully you'll enjoy the show.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think she nailed that right on the head right there. That Tim cared about everybody, and especially somebody that might be a little downtrodden, or somebody who's picking on somebody. That's not going to happen when he's around. I've seen it happen on several occasions where some guy might be bullying somebody. Not when Tim's around. That's not going to happen that way.
Well, as I, stated in the opening, that for all the things that he has done, Thunderbolt Club, City Commission, number one was always his family.
Oh, yeah.
And, the love for Leslie and the girls, second to none. So.
And the grandsons.
And the grandsons. Okay. And the granddaughters. Let us not forget them. Okay, I got the producer saying 1 minute.
All right,
anything else, Swifty? Go ahead.
Story. So just show the person and the fun that we had with Tim. We have a golf trip. We're going to Myrtle Beach, and for whatever reason, we're flying out of Newark. And so we're going to take a van up to Newark and get a plane to go down to Myrtle Beach. So, of course, the plan is to meet at John's Bar before the van's going to pick us up, because the van's going to pick us up at John's Bar, and everybody gets there probably way too early. And we're sitting in John's Bar, and we're having a few and wait for the van to get us. And, of course, we have a few more in the van on the way up to Newark Airport to get on the plane. And at this time, Tim was still smoking. This is a while ago, and he was still smoking. And he was worried about, how am I going to... Tim, it's an hour flight. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be okay. So we get up to the Newark airport. We get on the plane. And, of course, we get a big delay. And we sit on the plane, and we sit on the plane, and we sit on the plane. Well, now, this is how he looks like on the plane. He's sweating bullets because he can't smoke. And so he gets the bright idea, well, I'm going to go smoke in the bathroom. So he gets up, and he goes in the bathroom into the airplane. And, of course, he sees what's really the smoke detector, but he thinks it's a vent. And he's blowing the smoke up into the smoke detector. Gets out, sits down, everything's okay. Well, here comes the pilot busting out of the cabin. Who's it, raised? Really? I mean, he's lucky he didn't go to jail, right? I mean, we're all trying to calm it, all the situation down. And we called him the air pirate.
Air pirate.
Air pirate.
Right.
Matey.
I think there were about 4 attorneys on that trip, and he was calling for them, and they were all in a magazine, so they wouldn't recognize him.
Swifty, that is a great story.
That's a classic Tim story right there.
A lot of the stories that we probably can't tell today start with, well, we were drinking.
Yeah, well, actually, today's my birthday, and unfortunately, we have this show, but it's great that we have this show, too. But so if we weren't having this show, I know what Tim and I would probably be doing right about now. And I think it might have to do with it, maybe a beer and a tequila.
Enjoying a cocktail.
Yeah. But I just want to say one thing. People watching the show and people hear everything, maybe we should all be more like Tim.
Yeah. Life well lived.
The world would be much better.
Yep. Life well lived.
No doubt about it. And, and I can't prolong this before Jim Quinn, closes us out, but he knew when to be serious.
Oh, yeah.
He knew, and I think Liz and Kim alluded to that, Jim and Joe, with his job with the city commission. But he knew when to have fun, and we all should do more of that.
His motto is work hard, play hard, and he did both. He worked hard, and they played hard too.
And going way too soon, but with no regrets. I mean, he enjoyed every minute.
Right.
Well, thank you guys for those exhilarating stories. We're going to take another break, and I think the audience saw some of those pictures of Tim enjoying himself. So take another break, and we'll come back with the voice of the Thunderbolts, Rich VanNord and Tim Shannon's voice.
Played out before our eyes. Something that we have never seen before. And I was wondering if you can remember what you were doing when you heard the news. I can. And unfortunately, I have a tough time remembering things from last week. But I remember where I was and what I was doing that morning. Because I was coming in like I always do from my home, coming in 49, in my truck, playing the radio. Got the tunes on and I'm feeling good. And the lady DJ came on the radio when her voice was shaking. And you could tell she was upset. And she made the announcement that a plane had just hit the World Trade Center. First thing that came to my mind is this is a horrible accident. The pilot has probably taken ill. A wrong turn, miscommunication. Never gave it a thought that this could be a terrorist attack. Within 18 minutes, I knew something was very, very wrong. As the second plane hit the World Trade Center South Tower, the sick feeling that I had became overwhelming. 40 minutes later, a plane crashes into the Pentagon. 22 minutes later, the South Tower collapses. 5 minutes later, Flight 93 crashes in Pennsylvania. And at the very same time, a portion of the Pentagon collapses. 18 short minutes later, the North Tower collapses. Total time, 108 minutes. You don't think we should come together and reflect? Is this something that we shouldn't continue to talk about? Is this something too painful for us that we just need to move on? Maybe there's something more important that we need to do tonight.
A celebration of life. A tribute to the life of Tim Shannon. Join us now as we relive the memories and accomplishments with his friends, family, and colleagues as we celebrate the Commissioner of Fun.
Welcome back, everyone. One of the many things that Tim engaged in was he became a voice of Quinn Broadcasting, and I'll let Jim talk a little bit about that, and became a partner with who is now the voice of the Thunderbolts, Rich VanNord, and Rich can talk to that aspect of it. But Jim, talk about the shows that Tim did and the impact he had on your on QBC.
Well, as we talked about, whatever Tim touched turned to gold. He had that ability just to make it happen because of his wonderful personality. The people loved the show. They loved to see Tim, talk to Tim, and all that. And, you know, I have to tell you, I sadly today remember Hank Feen. And Hank was my color commentator, like Tim was for Rich.
Great.
And I saw the similarities in both of them. Both tremendous athletes, great family people, came from a wonderful family too, the Feen family, like the Shannon family, phenomenal. But what I loved about both of them, I didn't know a damn thing about football. I still don't. I mean, I call what's going on, but all these guys out there, TA and Craig and all the guys that played, they know the game. Well, of course, Tim knew the game. And without him, or Hank, for me in particular, knew the game. But what I really loved about both of them, they had a sense of humor. It was like, oh, my God, they made the game come alive. They really did. They took the boredom of what I was saying and took it to another level. People were chuckling, and I'm chuckling, going, wow. He was an amazing person, Tim, as you know, Rich. I mean, I guess what ended up happening, we transitioned. Tim was with me, and then I got elected mayor. And when did you start?
Well, you've actually segued into that. It's a perfect segue.
Yeah, okay. Well, I didn't
Jim.
mean it, but it worked out.
Well, I got recruited to QBC in 1997. I had moved back to the area in 1994. 1997, you need somebody to do Bridgeton football. So for a year, I did Bridgeton football, and then I was approached and said, you know what, Jim's running. He's going to kind of transition out, but we need you to do Millville football, but Jim wants to do the Thanksgiving Day game this year, so you're out of that. But so, I kind of agreed. So the story that comes to mind with this is that for whatever reason, Tim had a run-in with my brother back in the 80s sometime, early 80s, whatever. They had some sort of disagreement. I don't know what it is, and if I did, I wouldn't say it anyway. So he had a little bit of bad blood with my brother for whatever reason, and so he was told in 1998 that I was going to be the new announcer. Well, Tim confused me with my brother. So he told this person, he goes, "There's no effing way I'm gonna do the games with that guy. No, I can't believe it." So. Jim and some of your folks at QBC were trying to tell Tim, the guy's okay. He's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. I'm not going to do games with this guy. So I'm walking up the stairs to the press box at Wheaton Field, and Tim's like an MMA prize fighter. He's just gearing up. He's waiting to meet me. He's waiting to tell me his peace of mind, right? And so he looks at me. He goes, "You're not him." And I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, you're Rich VanNord, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you have a brother?" And I said, "Yeah, that's my brother Len." He goes, "Oh my God, let's go." And that was Tim. He said, "Oh, it's all good now."
It's all good.
But I think when you're talking about Tim, and everybody's correct when you're talking about the term leadership, absolutely no question. But with leadership comes passion. And when Tim and I did games, he was the proud homer. He called himself the proud homer. I'm a proud homer. And he ate, slept, breathed Millville sports, and he did as he did in every venture, with passion. And that's what made him so endearing. And he was also a draw in Millville football. And, when he left, because he ran for city commission in 2001, he knew that I was in politics. So he was thinking about running, and so he comes to me and says, "I got this idea, Rich. I want to run this by you." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He goes, "You know how they hand out stuff for politicians to try to get votes? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I got this idea. I'm going to hand out shot glasses. And the shot glasses said, vote for Tim Shannon. He's worth a shot. And I said, that's appropriate. That's absolutely appropriate. That's very good.
We have some great comments from people. I wanted to try to pass along some. Donna Vassal's watching in Florida, said, seeing the life of the true Millville native of Tim. Don Felice watching. David Aaron's watching. Carlene De Piolo she said, an amazing tribute to a great man. Bob Hahn, we all know Bob Hahn, right? Absolutely. Lots of great memories with Tim playing softball together. That's true too. I forgot about the adult softball league. And Bob's in Florida. Pam Roselle, to all who are taking part in this tribute together, you've done an amazing job, and that starts with Tony Surace and one of my best buddies in the world, who sponsors. He's one of our best sponsors.
He is.
Bob Millard from the Thunderbolt Federal Credit Union is out watching as well. So thank you all for those kind words. And Timmy was an amazing person in such. You've heard it tonight. I mean, every way. And we didn't even talk about his compassion as an undertaker. I mean, you just go on.
That's coming up.
Okay, well, that's right. I see those handsome guys sitting out there saying, when is it our turn?
We've got the Undertakers ready
right.
for,
we do.
for us, Jim.
We have that. I do want to say that I went to Larry Miller's funeral, and as I was coming up the aisle, Timmy was sitting up there, and he had his neck brace on and all. And I got to shake hands with him, and little did I know, a couple of weeks later, he wouldn't be with us. But Timmy, after the tribute you've had tonight, you'll always be with us, buddy. We love you. We love you so much and your family. And I'm just so proud of everything you've accomplished. And
the shows that Tim did, besides the play-by-play, with the kids, interviewing the kids, and then he took that to another level with going around at the school, would interview kids, and he put them at such an ease, because kids are nervous, when they come on the show and they've never been on, and I could tell them, hey, relax, it'll be all right. But Tim and the other guy that was great at that too, I got to mention, it's a Tim Shannon tribute, but Bob Smith could put the kids at ease.
Yes, he
because
could.
Bob had a great sense of humor too.
Yeah.
But Tim would just put them at ease. And then, Jim, you had him do all kinds of specials. I mean, he did all kinds of specials, mostly related to athletics.
Yeah.
And between he and Lou Clendaniel, seemed like they were all over the city, doing interviews, related to sports. But Tim did a great job of that. But Rich, I wanted to ask you: are there some special calls that you remember that that Tim made? Because I know there's one we're going to play, but you weren't there then.
Believe it or not, I think one of the and this shows the character of Tim. If we rolled back to the '99 Thanksgiving Day game, right? And this is kind of a negative, because we know what happened after the '99 Thanksgiving Day game. There was a brawl on the field afterwards, and it was a pretty big melee. You were the AD. You knew all about that. And
unfortunately,
but the person who took biggest offense to that was Tim, because he knew what the rivalry meant, and he knew what the game meant to the city of Millville and the city of Vineland, and he was and his comments to me and on the air were just one that I just can't put a feeling on it, but he was just deeply, deeply offended.
It was a black eye for both.
Absolutely,
both
no question.
Squads that go back to the 1800s, late 1800s, and playing that game. But George, do you have that queued up on that call that Tim made? He made several crazy calls that the kids would get a big charge out of. Here it is.
Looking to pass. He's wide open. Touchdown, Millville, Stevie Peters. Oh, can you beat it? Can you beat it? That time, I'll tell you, there was just nobody there on coverage. Stevie Peters lines up in the slot, straight down the field. Nobody picks him up. Nobody's home. Touchdown, Millville. Oh, what a big play. 4th and 19. Tony Surace had something for the Stangs there.
Yeah, I had Chuck Rogers and Stevie Peters.
but just listen to that call, right?
Yeah. The enthusiasm.
Oh my goodness.
The passion.
Passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like Merle Reese, right? I mean, you're listening to someone who just he lived it, he loved it, and it came through on the broadcast. Yeah, it was great. We just enjoyed listening to the replays for those kinds of moments when he would, when he would say that. There was another one. It's not a good show. I don't know if he has this or not, but some of the coaches were talking about this earlier. We were losing to Vineland. I don't know if you did this game or not. No, because you didn't come to Mobile. I was coaching this game, and they had a big fullback, John Taylor. I think that was his first name. Taylor was his last name. I mean, he was like 260 pounds. They ran him all the way down the field. They were ahead in the game, and they get down to about the 20, and our tackle, Eric Heffernan, who weighed about $150, stuffed him in the hole, right? The next play, they get nervous, they pass. Chuck Rogers intercepts it, runs it to midfield. The next, he's got it. This is the interception by Rogers. That's you, Jim.
He shoots it. It's picked off by Millville's Charlie Rogers. To the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and he's driven out of bounds across the way, and that's what Millville desperately needed, was a turnover because Vineland was driving for another score.
I'll tell you something, the change in momentum came on the Eric Heffernan hit. Yes. The crowd got revved up. Boom, there's make a play. I'll tell you, big play by Charlie Rogers.
I'll tell you what, though. Vineland went away from their game plan. I don't know why they went.
Thank God.
Their game plan is going to cost them. Exactly. All game long.
Here's a replay. You can see Blunt put pressure on. Also had that ball was just thrown well short.
Yep. Vineland's eating up the clock. They're doing a super job driving that ball. Millville's having a tough time stopping Wilkinson.
I have no idea where that play came from. Very good point. Very good point.
Why pass the ball, especially down there? You're knocking on the door.
That's just run by Johnny Green.
Hadley going in motion towards the far side.
Holy cow.
Hand off to Green. Green running the ball. Breaks a tackle. Breaks another tackle. Breaks into the secondary. 30. He's going. 25. He's going. They're not going to catch him. 10. 5. Another catch him. Johnny Green.
Ball game.
All of that because Vineland went away from their game plan. And I'll tell you.
Yeah, that enthusiasm on every call that Tim made was just came through, Rich. Just came through.
Yeah, no question.
Well, Tony, it's those handsome guys' turn now. Rich,
we're going to turn this thing over to
great job you did.
John Lookbaugh and the Rocap Shannon Funeral Home. And before they come on, I would just give them a plug because I was 21 years old, had a baby that passed away, and had no idea what to do. And the Rocap Shannon Funeral Home, Tim wasn't there yet, but Gene and Bob took great care of leading me through that process. And to this day, they're just a wonderful funeral home. So we'll sign off, we'll get out of here, and turn it over to John Lookbaugh.
We got a brand new day. We got a brand
Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
A celebration of life. A tribute to the life of Tim Shannon. Join us now as we relive the memories and accomplishments with his friends, family, and colleagues as we celebrate the Commissioner of Fun.
She is a beautiful lady.
I am indebted to her for life.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. John Lookbaugh says, Jim, you and I went to school together. You got to stay with me. In fact, we were just here for a class reunion, pre-meeting for a class reunion last week. But I often say, I have no pension. And when people say, well, what are you going to do? I say, I'm going to work here until I die. And I figure if I die, it'll probably be on the set. And I would always say, and I say that often, now I'm going to have to change it up a little bit. I'd call Timmy and Rob and have them come take my body over, and John could say hello to all our classmates who come to visit me at the viewing or whatever, that type thing. But anyway, things have changed some. John, let's talk a little bit about what's going on at the funeral home. And Nick Renn, who was Rob's stepson, is with us, and Ryan Musto.
No,
that's Ryan Musto, and Nick Renn is this handsome guy with the yellow tie, which is a nice title.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I had the very privilege of working with Tim and Rob and John Parker at the funeral home for 26 years. And I would like to let everybody know one thing, that the funeral home is still there. We are operating, and we have 2 gentlemen, Nick Renn and Matt Myers, who couldn't make it tonight, will be helping us make this happen. And Nick went to school, mortuary school, with Timmy and Tina Shannon Benechek.
I see.
And they graduated together. And Nick has been with us since he graduated. He does embalming, and he does other things behind the scenes, along with Matt Myers. Matt's been with us for about 9 years. He's been doing the embalming and working some funerals for us. And they came to the family, Nick and Matt came to the family, the Shannon family, and asked them what they could do to keep the tradition, 150 years tradition of Rocap Shannon Funeral Home alive. And they're stepping it up. And Ryan Musto, along with Mackenzie and Amy, are working behind the scenes to try to make this happen. And Matt and Nick are 2 gentlemen I have worked with for quite a few years, and I know they're very capable. We want to get Rob back in and involved with the program. Rob is probably one of the best makeup gentlemen I've ever seen.
Well, I have to tell you, I've gone to many, many funeral homes. I've never found anybody that does that makeup and how great the people look. It really. So I didn't know Rob was.
Well, it's hard to say when people come to you and say
it is something that he feels that not only fills that role, but it's kind of like a niche and something that he really takes a great deal of pride in.
Well, he does very well.
Yeah.
He does.
For sure. Yeah.
And Brian, of course, is Eda Shannon's son and Rob's stepson.
Well, now I know why he's so handsome, because his mom's beautiful.
I definitely am indebted to her for life for that. That is for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah. And her sister's pretty good-looking lady too.
No doubt.
They're good people, great people.
Yeah. I've sat here tonight and I listened to all of the tributes, and you repeatedly hear things like community, family, support, charitable endeavors and things like that. And, I think that symbolizes the Shannon family.
Yeah.
And the funeral home has been a part of that, like John said, for it's 155 years now. starting with, I believe it was Gene's grandfather or great-grandfather, to Gene being the first coroner in Cumberland County.
That's right.
And then, extending through to Tina, Tim, and Rob. But again, using those words of community and family, all of that kind of ties into what the Shannon family kind of symbolizes for Millville and the support that they've given to the city, as well as how, they've certainly taken families and assisted them through the most difficult period of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I have to commend John for really helping to transition the funeral home through this difficult period, because it was something obviously that was unexpected. And Nick and Matt kind of also not only stepping up, but being here to support and help the family kind of get through this period and continue in that same tradition of carrying forward, being a part of the community and supporting the community and the families. And Nick, I think you can kind of speak to the services that we're looking forward to continuing to bring to the city of Millville.
When Tim passed away, Matt and I sat down to have a conversation with each other. And of all the funeral homes that I've worked with and serviced over the years, the Shannon's, Rocap Shannon Funeral Home, were always my favorite. And two outstanding gentlemen, who I can't say weren't kind of completely opposite, though. I mean, Rob was always the straight man. But so I went to Matt, and Matt's, I wish he could be here tonight, but he had a family emergency. And Matt's young, he's 31 or so, and I said to Matt, I really think we need to step in here and help out. I mean, there's 150 years of tradition with this funeral home, and that we were treated so well by both Rob and Tim that I just felt like we had an obligation to step in and come forward and help. So we talked about it, and then we spoke to Brian and Amy and family and said, we're here to help you out to get through this time. Funeral directors suffer loss in a different way. I mean, we help families and we guide them through funerals, but we also have the pain ourselves that we deal with and loss. And while watching the presentation tonight, it was tough to balance the mixture of sadness with the laughter of the things that Tim did and thinking about Tim's personality. But we truly do miss him. I was blessed to be able to go to school with Tim and Tina, and we had a great time. It was back in the 80s, and Tim was always, like you said, a bigger-than-life personality. And one of my favorite things was, we went to school with a lot of people from the area up in northern New Jersey and close to New York, and one day somebody looked at Tim and they said, "What part of the South are you from?" And I still remember the look on Tim's face. He said, "The South? I'm from Millville." And
well, that's South Jersey.
Oh yeah, I mean, just with the way they made it sound like he was from Alabama or something. It's like, and Tim had a great sense of humor, and I mean, there's the very professional side of Rocap Shannon Funeral Home, with the care and the dignity that they always continue with. But there was also the funny side. I would get a message from Tim. He'd call me up, say, "Nick, can you come into work?" "Yeah, no problem. The family said clean shaven. Don't worry about the facial hair, clean shaven." So, okay, I get in. I'm thinking, man with a beard or something like that. I look, it's a woman.
Well, she might not have listened.
Yeah, that was Tim, and it's like this I can still remember, this was several years back, that Tim called me on Christmas Eve, and it was right around dinner time. And he said, "Nick," he said, "we have a person here in our care, and I was wondering if you could come to work. I know it's Christmas Eve. You can tell me no. You can say no, it's okay, I understand." I'm like, "No, Tim, no problem, I'll be there. Nick, I understand it's Christmas. If you can't do it, just, I said, Tim, no problem at all." I get there, and there's $200, two $100 bills sitting there with a note that says, "Nick, I really appreciate your help."
Nice. That was great.
And that's just the way, and I can remember calling Tim to ask him a simple question. I called him up. I said, "Tim, did I forget to pay you?" Like, "No, Tim, you paid me for everything." "You sure I paid you for everything?" I said, "Tim, you paid me for everything. It's not a problem. I just had a question for it. You sure? Do you want me to send you a check?" I'm like, "No, Tim, you paid me for everything." It's like always between him and Rob, it was always, they always wanted to make sure that you were compensated, that you were well cared for, and, just tremendous, tremendous people. And Tim was like a little kid with the Lavoie Theater.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember him
Tim's
telling me,
balcony club.
just tell me all about, like so enthusiastic about, the Lavoie Theater's reopening and this and that, and tell me. And one night, I promised my wife I'd take her out to dinner. And Tim called me up and said, "Could you come into work?" I said, "Well, Tim, the only thing is I promised my wife I'd take her out to dinner." He said, "I'll set you up in town." He said, "I'll tell you the restaurant to go to, no problem." He said, if that's okay," he said, So I took my wife out to a wonderful dinner in Millville, and she had a great time, and she sat in the funeral home, read a magazine while I worked, and turned out to be a great event.
That's super.
But
that's what's tough. You guys are all called 24/7.
Exactly. But with Tim and Rob, I mean, I can never express how good they were to myself and to Matt. The dedication to the community, and I told John don't plan on going anywhere because we've been leaning on him hard. And
he's a big
great
guy.
asset.
26 years.
Yeah.
No wonder you're so wealthy. 26 years there.
And we have the support of a tremendous family. And,
they are. That's for sure.
So Rocap Shannon Funeral Home will continue.
Oh, that's good. People will be glad to hear that, I'm sure.
They're mighty big shoes to fill, though.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and do our best to keep Tim's memory alive.
I wanted to bring along some of the other good comments we've had. Mickey Smith said, "It's a wonderful tribute to Tim." Mary Linda DeHanet, who is the best dental hygienist in the world. "Our love to Tim's family. They have the they had the greatest loss. He gave us all so much," and I know her daughter played, I think, softball with him as a coach. Gary Davis is watching in Florida, said that he's glad we're honoring his late friend and his golfing buddy, Tim. John Trainer said, "Great hearing Tim's laugh again on the video clip." Mike Andrews watching from Pennsylvania. Mike, thank you. Harold Hart, great job. Tim was such a special person. A tribute was inspiring. And Donna Vassal, she mentioned 150 years worth of times that the Rocap Shannon Funeral Home has been there. And the current, not the coroner now, they call it something else, Johnny.
Who's that?
It's not the coroner anymore. It's it's Doug Rainier. No, Doug Rainier. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Judge. I should know that. But anyway, he said that it's a beautiful tribute to the most deserving gentleman. Thanks to all of you for sharing your special comments about Tim. And that just keeps going on and on. And the nice thing about the program is it can be seen anytime, anywhere in the world. All you have to do is go to Quinn Broadcasting Facebook page or Quinn Broadcasting YouTube channel, and you can watch it, and people can. So if you want to share that on your Facebook page, that just go to Quinn Broadcasting Facebook page or Quinn Broadcasting YouTube channel and put in Tim Shannon. It'll pop up and it'll play for a long, long time. And he certainly deserves to have it play for a long, long time. And, I do remember, and John, we talk about special people, but boy, Tim and Rob just have such great personality. I love their dad and their mom, and their sisters are wonderful people. That whole family is just so special. They really are. We were lucky. I think about families like that in Millville, and I know there are many others we've talked about, but boy, they were one of the best, as far as setting example. They really were. Gave back to the community. Rob served for many, many years, mayor, commissioner, and commissioner of fun. And the one thing I wanted to mention, and I know Tim was very supportive of Rob. Rob raised hundreds of thousands of dollars with the girls' softball tournaments, or the softball tournaments he ran, and he gave the money to the league. But Rob picks on me, and I got to tell you, I don't know about him so much, but when I was the mayor, I wanted to name something in honor of Rob, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, what would be more appropriate than the girls' softball league, right? And Rob goes, "Thanks a lot, Jim. You named the dump after me." I said, "Geez, Rob, I thought it was the softball field." But the softball field's on the old dump. So that's like, but Rob, I still love you, man. You know? but I mean, again, the family, the contributions that they make, it's just immeasurable. Wouldn't it be if all families in the county were like the Shannon family? Boy, we would have the greatest county in the world. But we do have a lot of nice people came out tonight in tribute, including you guys and of course all the other folks that were here tonight. I want to thank Tony Surace, because the one thing Jim Quinn isn't organized. I am the least organized. If I didn't have my secretary, I didn't have George, I didn't have Bill, I didn't have all these people, I wouldn't even know what day it is or where I am. But I'm so impressed with their organizational skills, and Tony's especially. Tony Surace is great. But I just had...
Thank those guys. I forgot to thank them.
Well, that's okay. George Kachia is the man, and Bill Stadnick. I tell you how great Bill Stadnick is. When Bill was a little boy, right? Were you 17, Bill? When did you start with me?
Junior year of high school, so 16.
Okay, 16. I'm up by here. Bill, 16 years old, he started. And right now it's hard to find camera people. And I wanted to have a really good camera person for tonight's program. And Bill is a sergeant. You charge of traffic safety, right? So I tell that when I get stopped. No, I'm just kidding. But he's in charge of traffic safety for the Louisville Police Department. And there's a great family. Oh, my God, his family's fabulous, too. But he says, "Jim, I'm coming in," and he wouldn't even take any money. He said, "This is for Rob. I'm not taking any money. I'm going to just donate my time." And thank you so much for being here. And we have an intern, Steve Myers, who came tonight. It's his first time here, and he's a local fellow that's very happy to be here as well. So any final comments you guys would like to make?
I'd just like to thank you, Jimmy, and especially Tony. It's funny, we had talked about having something on QBC, and you came up the next day and say, "I've got a great idea. Let's have a tribute for Timmy, and then you guys we'll fill you guys in." And I called Tony. Tony stepped right up. I mean, he did a fantastic job, and we really appreciate it. And
it was outstanding. It was outstanding to listen to the stories, learn some new things. It was an honor and a privilege to be a part of it. It was terrific.
I appreciate your asking us to be here.
Thank you guys for coming. Had a couple more comments, and this lovely lady, in fact, I saw Courtney Fry, who is Rob's niece, or Tim's niece. She was at Larry Miller's funeral because she gave me the prayer card, and I got to see her that day. The last day, of course, that I got to see Tim before he went in the hospital. But she said, "Thank you for the beautiful tribute to my Uncle Tim. He was always good for a prank." Boy, that's true. And a laugh and a helping hand. We will love and miss him forever. Boy, that's a really good way of putting it when you talk about they are the things that Tim did, and we all loved him for him. And Higby, very nice tribute to his cousin Tim. And Carl Elwood, Jim, good to see you. You too, Carl. Thank you. Thank you to everybody that was here tonight. I would be remiss if I didn't speak about all the wonderful people who came and paid tribute to Tim. Craig Atkinson, Joey Derella, Jeff Trout, Ed Andrews, Liz Nicke, Kim Ayres, Joey Derella again. Of course, the Commissioner of Fun, T.A., was here with us, a birthday boy. Yeah. Judge Swift, who I think the world of. And Craig Atkinson, of course, as we mentioned. And then for the career part, Rich VanNord, thank you for being here as well. And Rich got to do play-by-play with Timmy. And John, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Brian, and I want to thank Nick for being here with us this evening.
Appreciate it.
And thanks to all the people that made this possible, and thanks to all of you who watched. And a special thank you to the people who advertise on the program to make these shows possible. And I thank everybody for being with us. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. And Tim, I'm sure you're up there now having probably a shot of tequila to celebrate. That's oh yeah, well, that is true. And Tim is just, oh God, we miss you, Tim. We really do miss you. God bless you.
There'll never be another one like
that. No,
that.
there won't. Well, he was one of a wonderful kind. Just, oh God, I laugh, and we all have great memories, don't we, John?
Oh yeah,
Tim,
good memories.
Yeah, we really do. Thank you, fellas. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for being with us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again soon. Check the Quinn Broadcasting schedule for the next program that we'll be bringing probably Wednesday. Tomorrow, I have to mention, we have the Cumberland County Commissioners meeting. That's at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. You'll see it live on Channel 22, on Quinn Broadcasting Facebook, Quinn Broadcasting YouTube channel. That's all tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. here on the Quinn Broadcasting Networks. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
This has been a QBC television production in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22 and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.